right, good morning, folks. How we doing? I want to do it here, mic check real quick, and then we'll get to this video here. I want to make sure that this thing is. I had some problems with my microphone here. Okay. Yeah, want to make sure that that's on and beeping and all that. Okay. Sorry for the delay. All right, but I'm going. This is the Remnant One. This is today's 8 October 2020, and if you looked at my prologue segment, that I actually did do this series here, but yeah, I had some technical issues with the editing software, and I have to do this all over again. I had to delete the other excuse me segments. But today's segment is going to be, as we continue this series, okay, we get to the first part of this is diabetes, okay, this health and food safety series. All right, so I like to start being that we're in this so-called COVID epidemic, okay, now that we're in October and we're into this second wave and we don't know what where this wave is going to take us, okay, to the cases that we have here. As we speak here, I live in Nevada, so we have about 83,500 cases. Okay, but for 3 million, there's supposed to be around 200 cases per 100,000. Okay, in your state it may be different, but here nationwide it's a little bit over 7.5 million cases, as you can see, and 212 deaths. And I think during this second wave that you have, it's the deaths actually that are going up from the effects of COVID, because over time it does ravish your body, just depending on what your body is willing to take from this virus, as if you contracted it worldwide. Okay, that we have over 1 million deaths, but 36.2 million cases. All right, America leads the way in cases. So as you can see here, we get 50,000 cases a day and about 1,000 deaths a day. Okay, so I question if this data is accurate, but it is what it is. That U.S. is the worst. So that's what is going to throw me into talking about diabetes, because with a lot of these existing conditions that many Americans have, i.e. diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, what it does, okay, that it provokes this virus, that's if you are exposed to it, and if you contract it, it ravishes the body even quicker, okay. We wouldn't have these conditions if we would eat more of the foods appointed by the Most High. We do things like stay awake, make better choices with the types of food that we eat, how it's prepared, and so forth. Okay, so we won't have problems like diabetes in the first place and other pre-existing conditions. And as you get older, if you're not taking care of yourself, it could be worse. Okay, it can get a lot worse. But however, it can be reversed. All right, and we could talk about that later. But for now, I'm going to get into it here. Here's an article from the Diabetes Association that we took some stats, okay, about diabetes in America. Okay, and you can look at this at CDC. All right, they have a health guide on there too. But check this out. In 2018, there's 34.2 million Americans, or 10.5% of the population has diabetes. That's 10%. Okay, here in Nevada, particularly Las Vegas, 1 in 3 people, that's men, women, and children, have diabetes. Okay, whereas that was only a fraction of that maybe 100 years ago. So this 10% was probably like 1% maybe 100 years ago, okay, or 3% here in Las Vegas. So I don't know what the hospitals are doing, but this is what they want, and they're doing a good job, okay. So they say that nearly 1.6 million people have type 1 diabetes, okay, and 187,000 children, okay. So type 1, all right, is type 1 is when basically where you have to take insulin and so forth, okay, or metformin. I take a very small dose of metformin myself, very small, but I try to make it diet controlled, and I have my reasons why I take that because I am a war veteran and so forth, and I have some other things with post-traumatic stress disorder and this and that, okay, but well, things related to that, okay. I'm not trying to make all these excuses or whatever. I'm really, really not. But if probably you have conditions like that, that's so I only take about 250 milligrams a day, which is a small pill. Okay, but I do a lot of fasting and I take a lot of different vitamins, and we'll get to that later in this segment. Okay, excuse me. Of the 34 million adults with diabetes, 28.6 million were diagnosed and 7.3 million were undiagnosed. And I believe that the undiagnosed is more than that. I don't think that they report it all. Okay. For senior citizens, okay, there's something to watch. But they say that many senior citizens over 65 years old, okay, are 26.8% or 14.3 million seniors. Okay, so that is pretty high. Probably seniors, they have an opportunity to probably splurge a little more. They paid their dues, and even then, you have to be very, very careful to try to practice fasting and eating more of the plant-based foods and so forth. Okay, this really applies to anybody at any age because they have 8-year-old, 10-year-olds, or whatever that's being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Pre-diabetics, okay, actually new cases, 1.5 million Americans, okay, with new cases every year, and pre-diabetes, 88.1 million cases age 18 or over. So that's basically pre-diabetes. As you get a warning, they're saying, hey, you need to watch your sugar and breads and so forth, okay, to keep your blood sugar intact. Okay, so with youth, okay, I was telling you about younger people and also kids and so forth. Okay, 210,000 Americans under age 20. Okay, and there's about 23,000 with type 1 and 2 diabetes. Okay, in children. All right, but what I want to do is I want to get with race and ethnicity. Okay. Because I'm an African American, I probably have twice of a greater chance to get diabetes than my white counterpart, and probably maybe a time and a half than my Hispanic constituents. Okay, Hispanics are probably somewhere in between, the white ethnicity and the black. Okay, as far as getting diabetes, but they're not too far. Okay. So 14.7 of African Americans percentage. I'm sorry. Actually, they don't have African Americans, but we are the highest of it. They don't put it on here. Okay. So we're probably about a good 20. If it's, let's see here. If it's 12.5% of Hispanics, it's probably about 18 to 19, about 20% African Americans. Okay, non-Hispanic whites are one of the lowest ones, 9.2% of Asian Americans, and that's kind of like, wow, I'm shocked at that because many Asians, they really don't have problems with diabetes, not until they get over here to America. Okay, and they eat a lot of the poison foods and so forth, all right, because their diet is fairly strict over there in Asia. That's from my time of being over there in the Army, okay? So, they have a different percentage. Chinese, Filipinos, Asian Americans, and 9.9% of Asian Americans. Okay, of so this is somewhat again right around 10%. Okay, and again, this is when many people from other countries come to America. All right, non-Hispanic. Okay, that they talk about 14.4% Mexican Americans and 12.4% Puerto Ricans. That's fairly high, especially with Mexican Americans. But it's a lot of it with their diet and so forth, with a lot of the foods. Okay, good food now, but it does put the weight on you. And I used to live in El Paso, and they used to they have a lot of beer and they have a lot of tortilla, and I would get invited and I would indulge, but really a lot of times you have to fast and be eating salads and all that and good stuff. Okay, diabetes is the seventh leading cause of death in the United States. All right, they say it's 83,564 deaths. Okay, from diabetes. All right, so diabetes is also included in 270,000 over that, about 271,000 certificates. Okay, diabetes costs in the billions. Okay, $327 billion a total. Okay, $237 billion for direct medical costs and $90 billion was in reduced productivity. So I like to say this. Okay, hospitals, they don't get rich from the poor. For people being healthy, I'm sorry, they make their money for people being sick. And I like to say one thing. Diabetes is fairly high in pregnant women. That's something that you guys should, if there's a pregnant woman or especially or women, okay, in general, listening to this, should pay attention to. Okay, you have to probably be careful about what you eat, your sugar intake when you having that baby there. Okay, because it will affect that baby, and those traits will trickle down. They're going to trickle down anyway, but you don't want it to provoke that. And I like to end this segment by saying this. It can be reversed, but you have to, number one, pay attention to your serving sizes, your calorie intake, and try to omit those foods altogether. Maybe instead of eating sweets, okay, cut the coffee, the sugar in the coffee. You should consider maybe fasting more to one meal a day to replace a lot of the bread, okay, with fruits or vegetables. Cut back on your meats because meats have high amount of sugar in it, especially like pork and shellfish. And we'll get a segment to talk about those unclean meats and some healthy meats or whatever. It probably shouldn't be no more than 3 to 5 ounces, depending on the size of your body and how much you work out, okay, of meat every day. But you should have probably at least about 40 to 50 grams every day of plant-based foods and all that. Nuts, fruits, and a lot of water. Okay, fasting. That's what I did. Okay, and I lost about 15-20 pounds, and my blood sugar is normal. So we're going to move on to the next segment, and that's going to be high blood pressure. Hope you guys like this video. All right, feel free to subscribe.